Today is the day. The last expansion to Command Combat Civil War, 1864, is finally released. It is now on Wargame Vault and on Amazon. You can get your copies there. Yeah, it's more than a year late, but at last it is finally here, the final major expansion to my game, Command Combat Civil War. It's been a long road. I've been working on this, well, since 2011 when the first one came out, and really before then because I had to develop the original game. Plus, there was over a decade, maybe decades, plural, of coming up with this game, so it feels really good to finally, at long last, be done with the major part of this. I'll still have smaller expansions, but the main part of it is finally done. Let me show you a little bit about it. I have here the main feature from this expansion, Command Combat Civil War 1864, the campaign. Now, this is using miniatures. You could, in your own game, have it be just on paper or a big map. You could research one that already exists, or you could use one from the expansion itself. I have in there the Overland campaign, the Atlanta campaign, and the Red River campaign. You can also research them. This is what I used to research the maps in the 1864 expansion. Basically went through here. I forget where I got this. I think I got it as a present one time, but it just has a ton of maps of all different places and times and during the Civil War. I used this to create the 1864 campaigns, but you could create your own, make it by your own design, or research one, whatever you want to do. As I said, I just set this up sort of as an example to give you sort of a sense of what it is. This is not going to be a tutorial. I'm just going to show you some of the basic concepts behind it. So the way it works is you have commander units. Corps commanders have a little pin in them. You'll notice in the regular game, in single individual battles, in the rest of the game, you will have a division commander will have the color, and then everybody with that same color is part of his division. Well, on this larger scale, the color stands for a corps. So this is this corps commander, the purple corps, and all of them that have purple, that is part of his corps. Every stand is a division. And the brigades within it are the individual ones. In fact, they're usually written, or they are written down on a separate pad, so you can see what all will be in. So, like when you do your miniatures battle, say that this guy goes into combat with somebody else, you will now know this division has XYZ inside of it. Infantry, cavalry, artillery, etc. I recommend using infantry stands with a flag on it to make it clear what it is. And as I said, use the pin on it with color-coded to the corps commander, so that way you know what is that whole corps. The Army General doesn't need anything in it. Right now I have this guy running as the Confederate Army Commander. I couldn't find my Lee. Over on the Union side, I have Grant over here, and one of his rules, special rules, is he can have an extra Army General with him. So in this particular case, he's got Sherman, and then you see this Corps Commander is blue, and all of his divisions are blue, red, white, etc. Now you'll notice a few of these are cavalry. The reason is that a stand can become a cavalry stand if only cavalry or horse artillery is in it. So then they'll get special movement, faster movement, etc., etc. But they're usually weaker units, as you might know if you play command, or if you play Civil War games. Anyway, the way it works, instead of like in a battle, in an individual like tactical battle game, right now these units would be shooting each other. Oh, by the way, you also notice there's no artillery stands on here because again, they're within these stands, and any horse artillery could be within these. Now, on a regular tactical game, this is the difference between tactics and strategy. Tactics is an individual battle. Strategy is the overall campaign. This is a strategy game. The rest of the battles are a tactical game. So in those, you'd probably be able to start shooting each other from about this distance, or certainly the artillery would be. But in this, every inch is, I forget exactly how far it is. It's at least a mile. I think it's several miles. Anyway. Every inch is quite a lot of distance. In fact, a regular battle is going to take place within a few short inches. So, a battle between this corps and this corps would be like this. And if you were doing it with if you were actually playing out the battles in tactical games, you would set up the board with all of these features in it. You would have this road, although in this particular case what I made was there's a a difference between the light brown and the dark brown. The light brown in this case are what was it called? Parkways or turnpikes. These are turnpikes and these are regular roads, and that makes a difference in the campaign game. It also makes a difference in the tactical game. So when you're setting up the board, you would note that there is a turnpike in there, and there is a town. The individual buildings are towns rather than individual buildings. So there'd be a town, a turnpike like this, depending on how the game got set up. One side determines which orientation the board is going to be in. The other one determines where exactly it adjusts. But essentially, you have to then put in those features and then add other features to it. So when you play out the battle, or let's say you just don't consider it to be important enough of a battle, you're instead just having two units stand up, go up against each other. There are now rules in it where there's a chart for the first time in Command Combat Civil War. Typically, I guess it's not the first time. I had it in Fortifications, but for the most part, Command Combat Civil War worked on the idea of putting dice or other markers on the table so you could see everything in this. I couldn't get around that on this one. This time I needed there to be a chart. So what happens if you decide that you're going to just roll it off, you're not going to actually play out the battle, you consult what this unit has and you consult what this unit has, and then you go to the chart, you're going to each roll, you're going to take your damage, one side will probably back off, and there you go. Movement, it has a special feature with movement. By the way, you'll notice people who are on roads, they're usually going to be traveling on roads or on turnpikes because of the fact that travel off of them, slows down quite a bit. Now the way it works, the initiative is the same in that you have a whole bunch of cards. You have cards based on the initiative of your commanders. And when a commander's, and it's only the core commanders, the divisions do not have their own cards in there. When their card comes up, what you do is you are going to determine, just like in the tactical game, you determine whether or not you want to activate them. You could wait until one of their other cards comes up. But the sooner you move them, the more movement you're going to get. Because, let's say he's going to be the one to move. Alright, well, this is how many movement points he's going to get. What he rolls, plus however many initiative cards are still on the deck. So let's say his initiative is 3. His card just came up. He still has 2 initiative cards in there. So he rolled the 8. He's got 2 more initiative cards still in there. So he's getting 10 movement points. So he is going to be able to move. Where is my handy dandy tape measure? I can find the cat's toys, but I cannot find my tape measure. Well, alright, here we go. Big old tape measure. 10 inches. Plus he's on a turnpike, he gets an extra 2 inches. Boom, Bob's your uncle. There's where he winds up. In the woods, it's divided, I believe it's divided by half. It's, quite a bit more. Or just cross country, he'd be going 10 inches. Now, let's say this had hit a 0. In this particular case, the 0 is a 0. It's not a 10. So he's not going to move, except he still had the 2 cards still in the deck, so he gets 2 inches. Plus the turnpike gives him the extra 2. Now, the roads and the turnpikes and all that sort of thing, they only add if you've actually moved. So if you roll a 0 and you don't have any initiative cards left in the deck, it doesn't matter that you're on the turnpike, it doesn't add up to that. They just stay for whatever reason, and that happened a lot in the Civil War, where guys were sitting there waiting all day and then ended up not moving or only moved a little bit, or et cetera, et cetera. The cavalry will double their whatever they roll, so there you go, 8 again, you get 16 points to spend. So he is going really far, plus he has an extra inch along the road. You are measuring by each guy, so essentially these guys are going 17, so the back guy will be able to make it. Actually, let's say you wanted to fight across that creek. Boom, there you go. And it's just close enough that they're actually going to get into combat. However, it's not necessarily going to happen right away. There's some features like that that go along with that. Again, this is not a tutorial, but that gives you some idea of how it works. If you're playing the miniatures game, you'll set it up. Units that are within a couple inches can come in during the miniatures game, so there'll be reinforcements. So like in this case, he probably would start fighting with this guy, and these would be reinforcements that come in as the game progresses. Everybody has a special rule. All the commanders have special rules they can use once during the campaign. And again, you can use, you can play it out, or just have the thing determined. You have supply rules, so you're going to have better supplies by turnpikes, lesser supplies by roads, and then by rail, of course, you're just fully supplied. The Union is supplied if it's by the river. etc., etc. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the campaign is going to be like. So that's a little taste of it. The links below will take you to where you can actually purchase it, along with a discount code and all that good stuff. I want to thank all of you who have been supportive of this game over the years and have been interested and have encouraged me. Some of you have kept me going, because there were times where I was just like, I'm just done with this. I don't want to go any further. And you kept saying, look, keep on going. We really like this. We want to see what you have more of, etc. So I really thank all of you. Also, it's because of this game that this channel exists. So any of you who have enjoyed this channel, it's because of this game, the people who've done it, and in particular my girlfriend, who's not even a gamer. When the 150th anniversary of the Civil War was coming along, I talked about how there was a game that I had always wanted to do, and this would have been a cool time for it to come out, but won't be able to do it because I just, didn't have the time, etc. And she just was like, you know what, you really need to do this. And so she actually picked up the slack a little bit more on finances and stuff like that. So that is part of the reason, and that gave me the time to actually, do the original first book. So because of her, because of the community, all of that this thing now exists. It's not fully done yet because, of course, there will be the compilation book that has everything, a version 2, there will be, battle packs, etc. But the main portion of this is done. 1861 is the core book, then 1862, 63, and 64 are the expansions. Go and take a look at them now. There's at commandcombat.com, has all of the things listed, and of course, as I said, Wargame Vault and Amazon will have them. Hope you enjoy it, and happy gaming, everybody!